Last night, when I was trying to fall asleep, I was thinking a lot about how being kind can sometimes become self abandonment. And I want to be clear that, kindness is a trait I value so much in other people. And I think, real, genuine kindness is sometimes really rare. Not just fakeness, but truly acting out of the goodness of your heart without any sort of ulterior motive or thought of getting anything in return. And I think it's so important to be kinder and more understanding than you might naturally be because everyone is just trying their best in life. Everyone has things that they're going through that are difficult that we're never going to fully see or we can never fully understand. Even the people who are really mean to you, because I feel like honestly, those are the type of people who need your kindness the most. Because to become like that, I think there's typically some sort of pain or insecurity under the surface for someone to be treating you that way. And you can set an example of who you are and how you want to treat people through your actions. Something I've had to learn later in life though is I think that there's a big difference between being kind and going out of your way to be really selfless or people pleasing. I think everyone always deserves your kindness, but I don't think that everyone in your life deserves your absolute, complete selflessness all the time. Because I think if you do that all the time, you won't have any time left to live your own life. And that gets into really dangerous territory too, because people in your life will start expecting this treatment from you as the norm in your relationship, rather than it just being something really special and meaningful or thoughtful in the moment. And I definitely used to pride myself on being someone who did selfless things. I grew up really religious, and I feel like sometimes religion sort of glorifies being that way, at least in my experience. Maybe that has something to do with it, maybe not, but I really lost myself doing that, and I realized that what I thought was kindness was just kind of a complete lack of boundaries, and I wish someone had helped me out and helped me make that distinction earlier in life because I feel like it would have saved me a lot of difficulty down the road. In college, for example, I lived in an apartment for a while with 4 other girls, and out of the 5 of us, me and one other girl had a car. I made it clear from the start that, I'd be happy to help my roommates out and drive the ones that didn't have cars to the grocery store. Maybe let's set a time Saturday mornings. I'll take everybody to the grocery store. I was totally fine doing that and, helping people out from time to time, whether they needed to go, to the airport or if they needed to be picked up late at night from a party. I was happy to do that type of thing, but it started becoming kind of an expectation that I would kind of drive people around wherever they wanted, whenever they wanted me to, all the time. And it started becoming kind of more and more ridiculous, the things that people were asking me to do. No, I don't really want to take you to the store at 11 p.m. to buy brownies when I have this, a really big presentation tomorrow, but I would do it anyway. And I think this is when I realized kindness can start becoming self-abandonment, when it becomes that you're saying yes so much to the point that it's a pattern of it getting in the way of your life. You have to learn to set boundaries and be a little bit wary of people who maybe are looking to take more from you than you were anticipating giving. And I think the scary part for me was when you become that version of yourself for so long, you don't even really realize that you're doing it anymore. And you stop asking yourself the really important questions do I even have the energy for this? Is this something that makes me comfortable? And the first instinct instead is just how can I make this easier for them? Which maybe sounds nice on the surface, but it's definitely self-abandonment. Because when you're constantly showing up for other people in ways that cost you something, you're not being kind to yourself at all. And to get to this realization, I remember I just felt really frustrated, but I also felt like I didn't even have the right to be frustrated, if that makes sense at all, because I was the one saying yes to these things at the end of the day. No one was forcing me to do that. This was a situation of my own making. So the shift for me was realizing that kindness isn't supposed to come at the expense of yourself all the time. And being a kind person doesn't mean that you always have to be available, or it doesn't mean you always have to sacrifice something like your time or your money. And I think that real kindness is something that includes yourself. You'll be able to show up better for them when you're also able to show up for yourself. I feel like this is a lot easier said than done though, because when you start setting boundaries after being the people pleaser for so long, people notice. They definitely notice, and a lot of people don't like it very much. And something I definitely had to learn the hard way was that the people who only value you for what you can do for them are the same ones who struggle the most when you start prioritizing yourself again. And the people who genuinely care about you, like, they're gonna adjust, they're gonna come to respect your needs. So if you're someone who feels like you're always giving, always accommodating, always putting yourself last, just give yourself some grace too, because like we're all just living life for the first time, and you might never have really been taught that line of like where kindness ends and self-respect begins. And it's all practice, it's all learning balance, because I think that you can be really, really kind and still have self-respect. My point is, none of us are perfect at this. It's super messy sometimes. I still catch myself in these old patterns, but I think the goal for all of us should just be to have a little bit more reflection in the moment and just more awareness overall of how we're treating ourselves as well as how we're treating other people, and to value the way that we treat ourselves just as much as how we treat others.